Hello everyone and welcome back. Now of course, with being a Jurassic World Evolution 2 based YouTuber, it means that I do spend an awful lot of time playing this game, and in the midst of that I've created many different parks and my building skill is generally, I would like to say, improved. Now of course that could be down to a bit of personal bias or just self-sympathy because I can't build very good parks. However, with that being said, I do know a few things about building a park in Jurassic World Evolution 2, and with that in mind, today I'm going to go over 5 top tips to building better parks in Jurassic World Evolution 2. And if you need some reassurance that I'm not just going to be waffling for this video, I've been building parks for well over, I want to say, at least 5 years in many different games, but in particular Jurassic World Evolution 2, so hopefully my skill set does offer you something in today's video. So with that being said, if you do go on to enjoy today's video or at all find it useful, please really do consider liking and subscribing, as when you even click the like button, a task that takes literally 3 mere seconds, it pushes out my videos more and more people can find this video and I can help more people. If we can reach 30 likes on today's video, then that would just be brilliant. But yeah, I'm going to stop rambling on now. If you do go on to enjoy the video, remember, like, subscribe, doesn't take much time and does go a long way. And with that being said, enjoy the video. So as I said at the beginning, I've been building parks for a very long time, and one of the most common issues I face is finding new ways to be creative with my parks. And it's an issue I see all too much, not just with my own parks, but generally in the community. And because, you know, we can't get too expansive because, of course, this game isn't modular, or at least isn't on the same levels as games like Prehistoric Kingdom or Planet Zoo, it does definitely get difficult. So with that in mind, my first tip to building better parks is simply making plazas. If you watch me on a regular basis, then you may well know that finally the video I'm using in the background footage of the video is different, and that's because this is a park I've been working on for a few days now, and I just thought it'd be relevant to show you this footage because I wasn't originally going to use it in a video, but I just felt that it was relevant, so here it is. And that is down to the fact that I myself was again facing this like almost writer's block in terms of park building, so I decided to try building on one of the maps that I hate the most, the Pennsylvania map, and honestly this park hasn't turned out too badly. But the reason specifically I'm showing you this footage that I was really never going to put on YouTube is because I'm building a plaza. And I know that sounds extremely simple, but one of the biggest issues that you can really have when building a park is finding it almost difficult to actually fill in space. You can have as many enclosures as you like, however, you know, there's always going to be that block of space that you just can't fill in. You've used all the buildings in the games, you've used most of the dinosaurs, and you don't really know what to do. So my sort of way of fixing this issue is quite simply parfar and or plazas. And I'm sure you look at people like Evolution Square's videos and immediately think, well, I can't build anything on that scale, and of course, sure, you might be able to, but generally speaking, if you're watching this video, it's because you're lackluster in ideas, and, you know, perhaps your skill set isn't up there with Evo's, but to be honest with you, you don't need to be a skilled builder in order to build a plaza. All you really have to do is, as you can see, build a sort of boxy shape with paths and fill it in with other paths. And if you can pull it off, I don't even want to say nicely, if you can just generally build a plaza, it of course doesn't have any actual technical features in the game, however it adds a sense of realism because, well, if you did go to a theme park or a zoo, there would of course be plazas. So if you want to build a nice big park, then plazas are definitely the way forward, and if you don't have one, then I definitely recommend it if you are, you know, lackluster for ideas. And similar to the point I just made about plazas, if you do want to sort of fill in the blanks or fill up space where you can't really think of anything to put, I'd recommend building your own sort of asymmetric gardens. These are pretty much the exact same as plazas, and as a matter of fact, I would imagine they probably come under the same sort of genre as plazas. However, gardens don't actually take too much effort at all you really have to do is build a sort of grid and fill it up with, you know, foliage. Whenever I'm building a garden, 90% of the time all I really do is just plop in a tree and add some leafy climbers around it, and it does actually look really nice and can take 10 minutes tops to fill in quite a large area. And of course it doesn't have to be limited to grids either. You can change the shapes, you can spice it up with how big you're making these grids. it's just such a minimal detail that you can add to your parks, and again, it does have quite a big difference in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not going to talk about gardens too much. I'll put up some photos for reference, and later on in this build, as you'll see in literally a few minutes, I do actually go on to build a garden. So if you do want to see what that looks like, then definitely stick around. Now, moving on to point numero tres, I'm going to say, and it's not necessarily to make your parks look nicer as in adding detail, it's just sort of small detail that I don't think too many people know about that actually can have quite a big difference, and that is using other methods of transport other than the monorail. In the latest patch for Jurassic World Evolution 2, we were actually given the ability to use our truck tours and gyruses as transport instead of just attractions. In the latest patch for Jurassic World Evolution 2, we were actually given the ability to use stuff like the truck tours and gyruses as opposed to using just the monorails as methods of transport. And while this doesn't sound all too groundbreaking, it is actually quite handy, because I don't know about you, but sometimes depending on what type of park I want to build, using monorails is actually almost ugly, as it ruins sometimes the aesthetic of my park. And you know, it's something that I wanted originally in the game, and yeah, believe it or not, I did want more methods of transport, and now 6 months later we've got it. And what that really means for the game is that you don't need to have this big overhanging arch over the majority of your park. What you can do is have your truck tours or gyrospheres cutting through enclosures, making an actually quite cool sort of ride, as it would be anyway. However, this time around they can be used as transport. And it's nice because it does actually give purpose to having more than one truck station or gyro station. And yeah, it's not really a detail that can improve the looks of your park, it just removes the need to having a monorail constantly. And moving on to point number 4, it's something I briefly mentioned a few minutes ago, and it's actually spicing it up, or spicing your parks up more specifically, with different shapes. Now, perhaps the park you're seeing me build right now isn't the best example of this, but generally speaking, whenever I'm building a park, I like to use more circles and just irregular shapes, as opposed to sort of keeping it boxy as I have done here. And I do have OCD, so whenever I'm starting a park, it's almost initiative to go boxy, and that's a problem I can't really help. That is just what I want to go for. But generally, whenever I'm building a park, I do eventually sort of split it up and make it circular, make it triangular, make it different. And not even just with path art, do this with your enclosures as well. Make them have unique shapes and designs, because while it doesn't seem like it's going to have too big of an effect overall, once you finish your park and look at it from almost the sky perspective, when it's not all just boxy and it's different shapes, it does actually look almost like, I don't know, realistic to not just be extremely boxy. And I know it sounds like I'm waffling, I promise I'm not. This is unscripted. This is literally just what I do when I'm building parks, because I start off boxy and then I sort of branch off and do different shapes, and it's stuff like that that just makes your parks look so much nicer and, you know, almost smooth, I want to say. And again, if you do decide to take on these different designs, it means that when you're making your plazas or when you're making your gardens, you'll have all these sort of like small spaces that again aren't squares, which are like, oh yeah, regular shapes, and you can fill it in and it does look actually really nice. And I do prefer it to the boxy design. It's just whenever I'm building an entrance, I generally go boxy, and again, that's just down to OCD. And similar to the point I just made, for my final point, my best advice, probably overall, is just fill in as much space as possible. And I know that that's a very broad bit of advice to give, but again, use plazas, use gardens, use different methods of transport, give buildings unforeseen uses. In one of my most popular park builds, something I did was make the gyro station a sort of information booth. And while, you know, it does give you the overhanging icon, which is really annoying, you can actually turn that off, and you know, it just looks like nicer because we don't have that building in the game. And you know, when you sort of put a bit of creativity into what you're building, it does actually have quite a big effect. Don't go step by step, fill in one space as much as you possibly can, use as many decorations as you can, and I promise you now, the end result will be so much better than what you started with if you just take your time and fill in the gaps. It's simple stuff like that can really make a difference in your parks. However, that does wrap up 5 top tips I have for you for building better parks in Jurassic World Evolution 2. And as always, if this video has been of use to you, or you just generally enjoyed it, please do feel free to let me know down in the comments, or just show your support by dropping a like, or maybe even subscribing. Stuff like that is incredibly undervalued by the viewer, but trust me, being a YouTuber, it means so much more. But with that being said, if you do want to see some more top tips, do let me know down in the comments, and Thanks for watching, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.